lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcomed back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man and Righteous Force, together with a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Oh, wasn't that
Hello?
enthusiastic from Discord? There might be a few of them on mute. I'll see if I can hustle them off. Oh no, everyone's off mute for the most part.
It's Monday.
Normally Monday's enthusiastic because people have not had it over the weekend. Live debate, that is. Hey, Paul.
Good morning. I'm out walking this morning, so I'm going to go talk Grimmett.
Walking on your own?
No, I got the little one and the wife, or the two little ones and the wife.
Ah, fair enough. Right. Everyone can hear us in Discord. Let's have a few more hellos just before we kick off with housekeeping.
Yeah, good morning. Morning.
Hello.
Perfect. Any signs?
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Owen.
Hey.
Hey. Any signs of a physical, geometric, sphere, edge, horizon, formerly known as Earth, curvature?
Not from 17-mile scenic drive in Pebble Beach.
Hey,
Right.
Chocolate.
Ballers always seem to forget, though, so they always still resort back to the old story that the horizon is a physical curvature, even though they can physically back that up with proof.
Doesn't that change on an hourly, daily basis, though, Arvin, for them?
No, not really. Just the total amount of terrestrial refraction changes over the day.
Oh, so one point it's 10 miles out, another point it's 2 miles out. Is that right?
Yeah. Terrestrial
okay.
refraction is wild, man.
How about the physicality of it?
Of the horizon?
Well, I mean, I live on property. I've been through cityscapes. The buildings are still there each time I go there. The physicality doesn't change, and there's no amount of refraction, whether I'm a mile or two away, even 5. It's always the same.
Right.
So where's the Earth curve physicality based on the radius, the 1 foot observer height?
Well, you just have to basically use circumdicular geometry, and then it really all works out. All the angles work out. So
to steal Neil's line, Euclidean me now, aren't you?
this is no, not Euclidean. If you use Euclidean geometry, then nothing about the globe works.
Good point.
You do use it, though. The geodetic surveyors are using Euclidean geometry after they've presupposed they're on a sphere. So they map out a tangent plane, the tangent bit being the presupposition of a sphere, the plane bit being their utilisation of Euclidean geometry to actually measure it flat.
Yeah, they just don't tell you that they're reverse engineering it from there.
Isn't that called transposing? Basically?
Well, presupposing, so the tangent plane is to presuppose your point, when you're standing perfectly vertical, is actually pointing at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. So if you're in England, you stood off at whatever 45-degree angle, pointing towards the spherical centre. But that tangent that you've drawn is just their starting point to then map out a plane, flat surface, and use Euclidean principles, water levels.
Yeah, so basically they have a local level or a local plane because everything does work on the plane with Euclidean geometry. And then they say, but if you move, then you got to abandon that local plane and we start a whole new one because we live on a curved sphere. So
Right.
it all works because when they're actually doing it, it's based on a plane. That's the only way it works.
Right, so they transpose the Euclidean measurements onto a circumdicular model. So they basically graph the flatness onto there, use circumdicular geometry to presuppose it is all curved, despite, the Euclidean geometry does show that it is actually flat. And then, they can model it into their globe.
I don't know if that's how they do it exactly. I see it this way, that it's not a sphere. It's impossible for it to be a sphere. And everything works on a flat plane. And so what they've done is they made their disco ball mirror globe with little squares that are plane and flat. And there, as long as you're within that square mirror, it all works. You move, you got trouble. So that's why it's a local level. It's something else somewhere else.
I'm pretty
going
sure
on,
that's
guys?
called transposing. by the
Hey,
way.
Chocolate.
Hey, Chocolate.
Yo. What's going on?
Yo, up and down again. Come on.
We're on the first housekeeping question. We were. They've relinquished their R value. They've told us in no uncertain terms that we cannot see Earth curve geometry. We wouldn't expect to see Earth curve geometry. You cannot see the geometric horizon. The geometric horizon only exists in maths. That's a string of quotes from the globe side in response to the black swan argument. So we might as well go on to that next. Any evidence of the R value?
No, why you expect us to see it? Come on.
No.
No.
Now, terrestrial refraction, which was established by measuring the geometry, which Alberuni didn't do because he didn't know terrestrial refraction existed yet and wanted to probably get there, but you can't measure the geometry. It's like that. So
How would he know if terrestrial refraction existed? If terrestrial refraction requires the R that he was supposed to be measuring?
exactly.
How the hell does that work?
Because
he was
he
probably
can't.
told that is what he was going to do. He was probably told the Earth is a ball, you're going to measure it. And then when he came back with the results, it's like, but this doesn't work out. And they were like, no, we're just going to do it anyway. You
Arwen's
just
right.
proved the Earth is a geometrical globe.
Arwen's right. They
No,
assumed it was a ball.
Planetary scientists did it.
Yeah, but Arwen said it there. They assumed it was a ball, so no matter what the findings were, it was going to match a sphere of some type. It just happened to match the one he said, but he didn't prove a sphere. He reified it into a sphere. So if I see X miles out one day and the next day it's XYZ miles out, I can make all that work on the sphere if I presuppose a sphere.
Somebody maybe should have told him that he'll never be able to see the geometric horizon, being that there's an atmosphere and you're breathing. So you're going to have to account for refraction no matter what you do.
But they probably, even the ones that were trying to reify the globe in the first place, they might have not even realized that was the case yet. He was out there to test it. Like, does it match a globe? And he came back, well, it's off by, 5 degrees? And then they figured out, oh shit, that's too much for the geometry. Yeah. So it has to be refracted or the globe doesn't work, and it must.
Yeah, but Andrew Thomas Young already gave us the refracted number, 3.42 versus 1.22. And based on the Black Swan imagery and the video and the pictures that we have from the Black Swan, it's still well in front of the first oil platform, that Earth curve, that horizon.
But we were talking about Alberuni, which is a couple of 100 years before that. So,
right. But my point,
how the geometry was established officially, right?
Right.
That's the starting point. That's where they started out with the geometry. He proved that in order for the supposed globe conspirators to determine there is terrestrial refraction. That's
Right,
the
but-
official story.
Correct. But so now, what is the radius of the Earth based on the official story, Arvin?
What is it again?
What's my starting point? What's my starting point based on the official story of Alberoni? For the radius. What is the radius of the Earth? It's just a number. What is it?
Anybody else? I don't recall the number.
I got it. 39.
39.
39, almost 4,000, as Chocolate says. Almost 4,000. All right, 3959. According to MLSP 69's pictures and video, the radius of the Earth is now 264,000 miles. Look what happens on that day to your sphere. So I could prove a sphere with any visual picture or, oh, there's the horizon, and there's a land marker or a marker in the ocean, like a oil platform, that's 9.1 miles out, let's say. And the horizon's behind it. So let's just give it a value, 10 miles. Now, we know it's even further than that, but at 10 miles, the Earth's radius is 264,000 miles. Well, that's a evaluation than Alberoni on top of a mountain. How come the Earth? How could the Earth
that
change?
doesn't match.
Duh.
No.
Duh.
Look, the thing is, whether they have their presupposition is based on the circumference of the Earth first, before they're going to derive what the spherical geometry is based on the assumed geometrical horizon. Do you see? So they're always going to fall back to the almost 4,000 miles, and
Right.
not on
So
any extreme optical deviation in their supposed calculation.
right. So if you have the circumference, that's how you get the radius.
Right.
Okay. So
So that's
now,
how you presuppose the radius.
correct. So now they've given us that arbitrary, or in the pseudoscience department, the actual radius, 3959, and we're going to hold them to task on it. We're going to go test it. We're going to go see if it works exactly that way. At a 1 foot observer height, all boats, anything on the water, need to start disappearing bottom up from 1.22 miles at a
Right.
1 foot observer height to match that radius. Does it?
Nope. Black swan.
So then what is the radius of the Earth if the second oil platform, say horizon behind is 10 miles, and you still want to believe it's a sphere? Well, now you got a circumference so big it's going to rival just under what the sun is.
Right. At best, we've disproven the radius. So,
No, we've disproven the sphere.
well, that's what you do when you disprove a radius, now don't you?
Well, that was a fun back and forth.
Right.
Can't have geometry if you're dealing with refraction. If you're dealing with geometry, you're dealing with straight lines to physical horizons, which is what Alberoni's claimed to be doing, and what the Earth, as a sphere, is claimed to do when it blocks boats and buildings. Now, if you cannot see said geometric physical sphere edge horizon to measure it, then you can't derive an R value, you can't base a presuppositional model on it, and you can't say Earth is a sphere and this physical sphere edge is blocking boats and buildings, here's the maths for it, because you can't see it, and that said sphere edge only exists in the geometric maths, which cannot be seen, cannot be measured, only exists in the maths. So we've debunked the sphere. You're both right. Obviously, debunking the radius leaves you debunking the sphere. It leaves the model untenable. You can debunk by the assertion that you're on a sphere by pointing out that assuming the radius, i.e. assuming you're standing on a sphere with every example you make that claims to prove a sphere, isn't proving a sphere, it's a begging the question fallacy. Now, their rebuttal to that is to say, well, we already know we're on a sphere, so it's perfectly acceptable to utilise this logical fallacy and start with the presupposition that we're on a sphere with this radius value of 3959. The black swan, however, takes that assertion and makes it untenable. You can't have a physical geometric sphere edge horizon if it's 10 times beyond what the physical limitations would be laid down by a physical sphere edge. You don't have one. Earth hasn't got a physical sphere edge for a horizon. The horizon is not a sphere edge. Earth is not a sphere. Any evidence?
Exactly.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Would that be an Earth sphere? Because I think we just disproved that. But
Axial
I don't
rotation,
think the
whatever.
flat
just-
Earth is moving or rotating either.
Maybe. You want to present me evidence for it, I'll listen.
Well, there would be a lot of centripetal force at the outer edge of the disk.
Really?
Right?
Didn't your teacher ever swing a bucket round full of water and just say, there you go?
Oh, well, that is if you assume that the entire realm is like in a bucket being slung, and then we have an explanation of gravity. That's like the Mobius ring.
So don't laugh. People still use that as proof.
No, that's
People
not
will
cool.
still say that shit. So
You gotta
it's
listen
not
to
even
the
funny.
Gravity centripetal force. And
No, you gotta listen to
unfortunately,
the
that does
pre-show.
make no sense on a ball. It would be the inverse of that. It would be a ring. The only way you can keep some kind of seemingly stable centripetal force going.
So we're a bucket,
In a
not a
ring.
sphere. Is that what you're saying?
Hmm?
We're a bucket, not a sphere. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. Well, this just super hypothetical, not literally. This is otherwise it's going to go into flat Earth
I just-
society type
I
modeling.
just want
but
to know who's swinging
it's either
that bucket.
like a pizza at the bottom of a bucket being constantly slung around by God, or it's a giant ring, which would be very weird. And yeah, that ring is like a wheel spinning around, and that is causing a gravity. Although there would have to be a concavity in one direction for that.
Oh my goodness! What does the handle look like on the bucket?
I don't know. Whatever is good a grip enough for God, you know.
Are we swinging around in Narnia today?
Well, in the pre-show, we discussed the bucket swinging over people's heads, so that's why I left.
Oh, okay.
Well, speaking of Narnia, outer space is fake. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Nope, no evidence for that. So that's another one. Just show it to us. They can't ever show it to us.
Nope.
Well,
There
that would
is
be easy to
containers.
prove, wouldn't it?
If you could do it, I'm sure it would be easy to prove. You can't do it, so it's not. No.
Right. You could just, have a vacuum chamber and sweep the gas up at the bottom.
No.
Yeah, but you need an enclosed container to even show a vacuum chamber.
No, you did you hear what I said? Like, gas doesn't do that, though.
Say it
You're
again.
If there was a
sarcastically
force
saying-
acting on it, it would be at the bottom of the container.
Yeah, you're saying gas go down, go boom, boom like bouncy balls in a fish tank. You're
Yeah. If it,
sarcastically asserting
Right.
Thunderfoot's claim that gas go down, go boom, boom needs sweeping up at the end. It doesn't.
right. If that was true.
It isn't. Gas is unbonded. It fills the availability of volume it has to fill. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space.
Right.
I have a really odd question, by the way, concerning pressures and temperature alterations thereof. Like, technically, certain types of gases could be solidified if the temperature was extremely cold enough. You know, that's a technical possibility. Also, I think it was established that if pressure lowers,
Hold on.
that
Hold on.
kind
Hold on.
of
Don't go on to your next claim. Wouldn't it be
What?
going through a phase change then? I.e., it's no longer solid. It's no longer a gas then. If it's forming bonds, it's not gas.
I know, but hold on.
What do you mean? Yeah, I know.
No,
Hold
you're
on.
right. You're right. Come on, but this is just a weird hypothetical. So
So if
it
gas
was
isn't
solid,
gas, hold on. This is the
it
same
could
as
be
Thunderfoot's
cold.
hypothetical. If gas isn't gas, let's bond it together so it behaves differently.
Yes, come on.
No, not yes.
No, it's not
no.
proof. It's not
What
proof.
do you mean
please.
yes? Yes, you're right. This is so wrong.
Yes, but I want to finish my train of
Isn't-
thought because it's
Oh,
making
go
a
on
lot
then,
of
Armin,
But
speed.
feel
that's how
free.
they give gas a vector.
Let's let him bond these gas particles together at extremely low temperatures so they do something that gas doesn't do. Go ahead, Darwin.
Right. So it's also established that heat requires at least atmosphere or another physical medium to basically escape, right? That's officially said. So if you put a vacuum chamber before it's a vacuum, if you freeze it up to the extremity and then you evacuate, well, which would be very cold gas, and then externally somehow introduce solidified gas within the vacuum, would it evaporate and turn into liquid and gas again? Or would it stay as is because the heat cannot get to it or cannot escape, so it's going to stay in its same state.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
No evidence for the distance.
Almost had it.
Nope.
I almost got
on
your
its
gaseous
way.
bouncy balls.
Oh,
No,
what do
you
you mean
didn't.
almost? I chopped its head off and then just let you blabber on anyway. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and then you ignored it, so I took it as a win.
Oh, I
You've been
see.
merciful.
Oh, my, this isn't even worth replying to was taken as a win, was it?
Yes.
I
It's the
see.
ball
No,
or
that's
win.
fairly standard tactics. Reasonable, fair enough, Arwin.
I thought you were showing mercy.
I just
It
want to get
was a
through the
super
housekeeping
man-made
questions, actually.
situation anyway, because there's no way that could ever happen in any sort of way in nature, you know. So
See, I didn't need to. Arwin just did it for me. Just because I didn't. I knew he'd do it for me.
Full of piss and vinegar.
I just like to build silly things out of Legos and smash it again.
Fair enough.
Space Legos.
So, someone said something about vinegar?
Oh no, I was saying Arwen, he's full of piss and vinegar today.
Arwin's ace. He's always like this.
No,
Arwin
he's
is basically
arguing both
fantastic.
sides pretty well.
Yeah.
Right. Let's move on.
Arwen's mad
I
smart.
was just curious, you know, curious about the properties of physics because, yeah, there's these multiple issues like heat having to transfer through a medium in order to change and all that. And then I just thought, like, could frozen gas basically be trapped in its solid state because the heat could not transfer to it? Is that a physical possibility? I just
Check him out, right? It's just, he's trying to, you think this is going to slip by unnoticed, this frozen gas nonsense?
right. Well, it's still in a frozen state, which means solid, which means it's technically not gas. It would be gas in a natural state. Which
See,
it
there it
would
goes
not
again. I didn't have to say anything, did I? Can we move on? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
There's no evidence at all for what they claim gravity is and how it's caused.
They don't even know really what it is, so they just resort back to old Newtonian models thinking, which basically ignores gas. The whole Newtonian system just ignores gas.
Yeah, but wasn't there a quote? Maybe Chocolate has it handy about Newton saying he wasn't postulating gravity because he found it hard to believe.
No, he used it as a law in his calculations, little g, but he never claimed a hypothesis for gravitation, you know, for the whole planetary thing. But just gravity as a mathematical cornerstone to even out his calculations and his models, yeah, that worked great on Earth for him. As long as he ignored gas.
Gravitas is weight, and he said gravity because back then in English language, gravitas and weight had a correlation, obviously, for him to use that wording. But wasn't it like 100 or 200 years later, somebody else accredited what they said to Newton when Newton never said it?
What?
I mean,
No.
what?
No. Everything he said or disclaimed has been
Okay,
published.
you're gonna have to find that quote that Riley showed us, because it says it right there. And then somebody, C.V. Boyce or somebody came later and said something, but Newton never said it. But he said that he made it sound Newton said it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's not good. And that's printed?
Yeah,
Damn. That's harsh, man.
Chocolate. You got that from Riley somewhere?
What do you mean, the Isaac Newton quote?
Yeah, the one that he stayed away from saying what it was, what it isn't, and then a couple of hundred years later, somebody else said to the current formation of what the word, how they want it to mean. But Sir Isaac
What, the
Newton
one
never
where he
said it.
said, this is the one reason why I desired you would not describe innate gravity to me?
Yeah,
That one?
yeah. And then was it C.V. Boyce or somebody like that who a couple of hundred years later postulated it and said that's what Newton said when Newton never said it?
That I'm not sure of. I know
I'll get
Stephen
Anthony
Boyce
to-
came up with gravitational constant. after that.
Yeah, I'll just get Sleeping Warrior to post it again. How about that?
Like gravitation. His disclaimer mentions specifically the theory of, what is it? The law of gravitation. So
I feign no hypothesis for gravitation. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope.
Pangea was like the melting top that ended up on one side after the Earth cooled off a little, after Athea probably already smacked into it. And then the island of Pangea basically came afloat, solidified, and then later broke apart in tectonics. And because that is all true, because I said so, it's a proof of the molten iron core.
How is land
Checks out.
moving across land when it's attached to the land? Can someone tell me that? How the hell do the continents move apart from each
Tectonics.
other?
It's tectonics. They have these models.
Tectonic what?
How
Plates?
it all
First of all,
fits.
how you have a plate on a ball? Okay, that's just first of all.
Because
But
it's
you
floating on top
suppose it-
of the molten iron.
I could settle this a lot
Okay.
easier. Just say P waves and S waves. That's all you gotta say.
Nah.
That's boring
I don't see that.
because it doesn't mean anything to me.
It doesn't have to. Just have to blurt it out. It's easy.
I don't know. I like the Just So stories more. There's more to latch onto.
P waves and S waves is just so story.
No, it's more like a technical Just So explanation.
What, just so story? With the word technical in front of it, because it's got a machine.
Right. I just like the more, I don't know, visual stories more. Pangea, I think that it's really at the core of the molten iron core. They really fabricated the idea of Pangea starting out that it would solidify on top of the molten iron core. And that's how it started. Right?
I don't know. Who was there to tell us?
NASA? Because they calculated it or something?
They can't keep their story straight or make good videos. There are stars. There are no stars.
Michelle Thaler said that there is no such thing as life, really.
Oh, God.
We're complicated rocks. She actually said that.
Yeah, I played it on my show today.
Complicated
Awesome.
rocks. How dare she?
We are complicated rocks. Direct line from her. She said.
Yeah, she also said there's black holes forming all around me.
We are a chemical
nut,
reaction that
literally, she's
became so
crazy.
complicated that we gained consciousness.
Wow.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's
That's a
black
crazy
holes
lady.
forming all around you. Remember?
Even the
Yeah,
guy
you
who
can
was
hear the
interviewing
bass
her
in
face
the
palmed
voice.
like, what?
That's
It
one
was
crazy
great.
lady. But if she had kids, I bet one's name would be Pebble.
Deeper than what I read this morning.
Heard her when she starts going off about her sex life and all that, and sleeps
Oh
with
my
all the
God.
wrong
Yeah, she
people.
falls in
and-
love with everybody.
Yeah,
That's
she's
science.
weird, man.
Oh, who cares? Do we have to talk
Yeah,
about
she's
this? I don't
fucking
care.
weird.
No, rocks. It's been proven rocks don't have sex life. Come on, we'll move on.
Nice segue.
No, but it's evolved rocks. They
There's
do.
a perfect opportunity for me to segue into retro build
So what
super
is
chat. So
what is solid
It's
as a
not going
rock
away
stand
easy.
complicated rocks and space Legos. Good stuff. There's retro Bill. Thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Speaking of pseudoscientists, any single viable hypothesis from any field of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, after that statement from Michelle Thaler, I don't think so ever.
Ugh.
I think that's impossible, right?
Yeah, they're all pseudoscience fields. That's right. Well cottoned on there, Neil.
I would crush her argument in a landslide.
That actually concludes the housekeeping.
That
Excellent
wouldn't
stuff.
pressure with your dick.
Sorry, we
What's
did
that?
have gas pressure without a container. It was the second question, I think, or third.
Did you already do Earth curve?
Yeah, it's always the first question. As this is flat Earth debate, my opener every housekeeping question is any evidence of the physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve. Because that's what it's all about, as far as I'm concerned. That's why Black Swan is just the number one, because it actually covers quite a few of the housekeeping questions, right? So how can you have a molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth when the presupposition is the R value? Well, that's the R value and presupposition of a molten iron core covered with the Black Swan, not to mention the fact that you've got the actual Earth curve itself covered with the Black Swan. So, you know, that's going to be it's always going to be number one top debunking of the globe Earth. There is no better way of debunking the assertion that we're standing on a physical sphere. We're not. That's the bottom line, and the Black Swan demonstrates that, because if you were on a sphere with sphere-Earth geometry, it's got physical limitations based on that geometry. As soon as you show the horizon, it's on screen now for this guy with his arms in the air, as soon as you show the horizon beyond the physical geometric capabilities of a sphere, you can't have a physical geometric horizon. And that's precisely what the rebuttal is from their side, from the globe Earth side. We do not see the geometric horizon. Well, what is the geometric horizon, people? Earth curve! We don't see Earth curve! It's the end of the argument. Black Swan is ace. There's no other words for it.
It's refracted, though, even though that refraction could have never been established without establishing and measuring the geometry first. But
precisely. Refraction's
but they
bent,
can't seem to
deviated from
get
straight
that
line.
part through, you know?
Exactly. You've refracted lines deviated from straight, and to acquire an R value, you need to draw a tangent. That's a straight line to the physical tangent point edge. That's their horizon in their paradigm. Their horizon's a physical sphere edge. And Al-Biruni's deriving the R value by drawing a straight line for his geometry. Not refracted, not deviated from straight, that's not geometry. So when the rebuttal is, well, it's refracted, well, that's not geometric. And your globe Earth assertion comes with a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon. It blocks boats and buildings, remember? Muppets? Yeah? When you turn your entire worldview side on and remove perspective? Why is the 10 foot missing? What do you mean 10 foot missing? It's 30 miles away. What about the angular relationship that changes with distance? 10 foot is always 10 foot at 1,000,000 miles or 30 miles. Well, that's why they do it, people, to remove perspective, when they assert that a physical geometric sphere edge horizon's blocking a certain feet and inches value of something in the distance. Well, that feet and inches value does not change with distance in their maths. It stays the same value. So they can remove perspective, because the angle definitely changes. Things get smaller when you get further away from them, until eventually the angle's so small that things can disappear bottom up. So when they assert that that's Earth curve getting in the way, they mean the geometric horizon, their physical sphere edge, and we've debunked it with the Black Swan. Game over, globe Earth. You can't beg the question of R and just say, well, we already know. No, Al-Biruni thought he knew, but then he drew a straight line to something that doesn't exist.
Nathan, can I draw a comparison here based on what you said about Muppet Vision to how they say the sun is the exact size as the moon, but that's because it's 400 times further away, right?
That's all based on R, but go on.
No, I'm talking about what you were talking about, the actual size not changing over distance. If the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon, then how does it change to be the same size as the moon and then still keep the Muppet Vision nonsense going?
Well, they don't. I've never seen them transpose the celestial observations in terms of their angular relationships between the sun and the moon at their varying distances in Muppet Vision. So I'm not following. I'm really sorry. Maybe someone else can fill me in if I'm just being
Set
stupid.
apart the celestial and the terrestrial. They keep it apart, and they should. You know, we should as well.
Well, let me explain what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I'm right, but I see like a little hole here in their argument. They're going to show us Muppet Vision and say a 10-foot sized object doesn't change with distance to the viewer. because of the angular situation. Well, if it doesn't, then how come the sun is to you?
Yeah,
Can't have
Arwen's
it
got
both
it.
ways.
Arwen's already said they keep them separate. So when they ask you why doesn't the angular size of the sun change, well, suddenly we're talking about angular relationships. Well, when we talk about things disappearing into the distance, they don't ask why a certain angle has disappeared at the bottom. They ask you how many feet and inches have gone. And those feet and inches that they will use do not change with distance, whereas angular relationship would. So they keep them very separate, as Arwen's just said.
Yeah, but that's nonsense because and we've used plenty of examples here, that as you're driving on a flat road and you see a mountain in the distance, it looks very small until you get closer and closer to it, and it gets bigger and bigger. And from where you started, that little convenience store or grocery store blocked the whole view of the mountain when you stood in front of the grocery store. Then you go over there just at the base of the mountain, there's another grocery store, and the mountain's totally can't be blocked by it. I mean, what are they trying to say then?
Yeah, but if you draw that side on, you end up with the mountain being represented with its feet and inches value, and you looking at it with a line drawn between the two. And it doesn't matter what value you put on that line. Shout out to Rakia Life for the $100 super chat. Woo-hoo-hoo! Welcome back. No curve, you say. I agree. Wonder where it went. Maybe it's flat. Shocker! Yeah, it is flat, Dave Rakia Gafford. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Or Rakia Life, I should say. What are you showing us, Arwen? Is this relevant?
Well, we're getting a bucket of rain right now. Big one. Huge splashy drops.
That's
I
lovely.
don't know.
Thank you so much. Very British of you to mention the weather.
Yeah.
Well, so much for that bucket swinging around your head, not leaking.
That cloud. No, but it's nice, after the heat wave, I kind of appreciate a good bucket of water from the skies.
Yeah,
Well,
I like
I
all
wanna
the
bring-
thunder too. Did I mention all my amplifiers have blown up?
What? Really?
Yeah, all my amps have blown up.
Oh, shit. When did that happen?
Did it go fund me for it, Arwen? But in the meantime, literally yesterday, the only amp that has so far been at Old Faithful, it's the oldest amp. It used to actually reside in the Royal Opera House, so I just bought it second hand. But even though it's second hand and very old, identical to the other two that had gone pop recently, it also went pop last night. So I'll mention this in the pre-show. I won't reiterate it now, but I was talking about it in the pre-show. I turned on a movie for my kids, and suddenly the little cow that's talking isn't saying anything because the bloody centre channel amp's also gone pop. So I was just joking, saying, "Oh yeah, I really like Thunder 2," kind of jokingly implying that that's what's killed my amps. I'm sure it isn't.
Okay.
Anyway,
weird.
So Neil deGrasse Tyson backtracks everything they said until he backtracked. He says you can't see Earth curvature even from 120,000 feet plus. Yet here on terrestrial, they say that's what's blocking the bottom of ships and buildings. Everything's a backtrack for these guys. They backpedal on everything.
yeah, it's double-speaking contradiction. In the one breath, they say you can't see the geometric horizon, and in the next breath, they'll say the geometric horizon's blocking boats and buildings. So they try and have their cake and eat it, but that's the only way you can work a fundamentalist religious assertion, that you're standing on a sphere. You're going to have to convolute it with doublespeak and just confuse the people who actually believe it just at surface level. Well, when they look into it and they come across somebody arguing about it, saying, well, we can't possibly have a physical geometric sphere edge, and they hear, well, we wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. Refraction's the thing that's actually taking place. We've got atmosphere. Obviously, you can't see geometry unless you remove all the atmosphere. Well, if that's not addressed, i.e., well, you need to derive it by doing geometry as Al-Biruni did, then at a cursory glance, somebody who's not a fundamentalist will come and go, yeah, you go, there's an explanation. Refraction. I don't care to look into the fact that it's been debunked because geometry is not refracted, it's straight tangent lines. You know, their rebuttal is self-defeating. But like I say, because there's a rebuttal of sorts out there, how many times have you heard people who've definitely listened to this show and heard me say, no, you need a straight line to draw a tangent, as Al-Biruni is claimed to have done. He can't not be doing straight line geometry. He's deriving R. So definitely not refraction. He can't be accounting for it either, because then he's not doing geometry and can't derive R. So you've got an untenable model. Well, what will they come back with? Refraction. That's their rebuttal. Well, your rebuttal is self-defeating. Hello. Well, that's going to take a few more months for the fundies to get that. But anybody who, like I say, dips their toe in the water in the meantime, just hears refraction. If they're looking for confirmation bias, they'll get it. Because people are still parroting that crap, making videos about it. Don't they know what refraction is? Yeah, don't you know how to draw a tangent like Al-Biruni did to give you the R for you to base the refraction on? Your refraction's 7/6R. Terrestrial refraction's based in, obviously, a globe paradigm where they bend light at the rate of the radius. So you still need R, and you still need Al-Biruni to have a straight line to a physical horizon that blocks boats and buildings, while you tell us that it's refracted and we wouldn't expect to see it. So it's a self-defeating rebuttal from the globe side, leaving the argument untenable. Doesn't mean they won't parrot it. Refraction. All right, that doesn't save you from this demolishment of your religion.
Oh, by the way, well, wait, 10th man, I would like to correct about something you said earlier. Basically, white knighting the globers in a detail. Yeah. Because when they say you can't, even when Neil deGrasse said that, you can't see the curvature from that high up, he doesn't really mean the bottom-up obstruction curvature that is claimed to be seen when you stand on the Earth. No, they specify that in the horizontal curve. Remember?
That's not what he
the
said.
Curvature that you can't see at any height. It's not the bottom-up obstruction. They don't involve that. They compartmentalize those two curvature effects as well.
That's not what he said. Neil deGrasse Tyson is by far and away the best magician they have. Now, if you listen very carefully to what he says, he actually says, while he's slapping the ball he's exempling, you cannot see the curve from 1 inch above this beach ball, or whatever measurement he gives. And he slaps the beach ball! Well, is he lying? He's just given you an analogy with you as an ant on that beach ball, and then describes how you can't see the curve of the beach ball from 1 inch above it. Well, that's a physical spherical beach ball with a physical geometric sphere edge horizon for the ant when the ant's an inch above it. That's a very clever magic trick, because he's describing, by analogy, Earth as a sphere in the form of the beach ball that he slaps and tells you can't see the curve of the beach ball. Well, the beach ball's got a physical geometric sphere edge. Now, he's implying, where he's a very good magician, that is your horizon. Now, he doesn't explicitly say that, but that's what he's implying. Your horizon in your world, Fundy, listening to this as I slap a beach ball with a map of the world on it, your horizon's the same as the ant's horizon. The ant's horizon's a geometric physical sphere edge, therefore your horizon is the same as the sphere edge horizon I'm slapping. It's a very carefully constructed magic trick. It's a way of getting you to reify, both flat earthers and globe earthers, the horizon into an edge. So we as flatties, not me, say, well, you wouldn't see it curving. What do you mean you wouldn't see it curving? The physical edge? We haven't got a physical edge as a horizon. That's their assertion. But we fall into the trap as flatties, saying we wouldn't see it curving. Well, by implication, we're buying into their assertion that it's a physical edge. Geometric. It isn't. It's not a physical anything. Changes with the bloody weather. Certainly can't be blocking boats and buildings with its physicality if it changes with the weather. It's absurd. But it takes somebody on a panel show like this to point that out to people who might not have the inclination to think that way, when they're just told it's a physical sphere edge, and when we debunk it as a physical sphere edge, there's a refraction rebuttal that just eases the pain temporarily.
All right. Well, your explanation is excellent. You got straight to the core, but it doesn't really dispel what I said, that they have compartmentalized the supposed bottoms-up obstruction due to what they presume to be curvature. It's not, of course, it's perspective and all that. But yeah, with the horizon curve, which I guess should be there if the Earth actually was a ball. Because, yeah. But your point is, yeah, it's even deeper than that. So,
well, let's
I
not
love all that
forget what he
aspect
said
of it.
afterwards.
The words and their meanings,
afterwards?
when it's magic, And what Neil deGrasse Tyson does, he even looks like a magician with his sun and his moon on his waistcoat. He looks like a magician. He is a magician. But what is magic? Real magic is just words. Spells, spelling. That's what he's doing. Casting a little spell while he slaps his beach ball and tells you can't see the edge from an inch above it. That's a very carefully crafted magic spell. And the flat earthers lapped it up. Look, he's saying that stuff is flat. Yeah, is he? He's also describing the horizon as a physical edge that you're agreeing with when you pat him on the back and say, look, he's saying it's flat too. No, he isn't. He's describing a very carefully constructed magic trick of how to reify a physical sphere edge into the same physicality that he's got in his hand in the form of a blown-up beach ball. Ergo, you will reify the horizon into an edge that does or doesn't curve as a flat earther, or as a geometric physical sphere edge horizon as a globe head. Very clever magic trick. My hat is off to Neil deGrasse Tyson. You're a great magician, my friend.
Well, they do the
agree.
same.
And then after that, he goes off to say how there are so many things. From what I remember, he said there are so many things that out in the universe for you to be impressed with. I don't want you to, be impressed with things that are not. In other words, he's trying to debunk this curvature that you see in this Felix Baumgartner footage and telling you, well, don't pay this any mind. This is not impressive. There are plenty of other things to look at in the universe. This is just a little add-on to the magic trick that I think he's doing right there. It's pretty funny.
Yeah. Again, it's a way of taking the sphere edge horizon and saying, look, the sphere edge horizon, all part of the magic trick, isn't as bent as Felix Baumgartner's jump makes out. It's fisheye lenses, an argument that's formerly been used by flat earthers who are still buying into the trick of a physical sphere edge and how much it bends. So it's a very carefully constructed magic trick. And I'm sure there was plenty of flat earthers that were pissed off because, oh, well, we say it's fisheye. Yeah, but what are you talking about? You're all missing the point because you're describing an edge.
All right. They use the same tactic when it comes to Coriolis. They're arguing against it. They do this when they backpedal.
Or doublespeak, contradictions, like we discussed earlier. You're right. Oh, we don't see a sphere edge geometric horizon. Well, it's blocking boats and buildings today, according to my geometric maths. Same goes for Coriolis. We prove Earth spins because we've got a 15 degree an hour turn of the Earth underneath anything in an inertial reference frame that's not attached. So 15 degrees an hour of deviation is the claim that proves Earth spins. When you point out that, have we got 15 degrees an hour deviation under planes? They're not attached. No, we wouldn't expect to see deviation at 15 degrees an hour. Is their rebuttal? Literally, they'll argue against having 15 degrees an hour deviation and start describing things like the plane and how it moves when that's nothing to do with Coriolis, an observation of not actual deflection, 15 degrees an hour of it. So they'll double speak around not having deflection and why we wouldn't have deflection and why you're stupid for not understanding how we don't have deflection when the very claim that's supposed to be proving Earth spins is 15 degrees an hour deflection.
That's why they lose.
I think that's the most concisely I've ever summed up the Coriolis argument. It's only taken 2 years. About 2 years ago, for anyone who's a long-time watcher, that summary in discussion with a fundy could have taken up full-on 2 shows, several hours. You know what I mean? Two years to get to that point, I reckon.
Yeah,
Good summary, though, by me. I'm only blowing my own trumpet here.
Well, Nathan, it has taken days and weeks, but that's why it's so succinct now and concise with it. You have to go through it.
Wow, I was so proud when, during the period that my PC was being repaired, getting a new power supply, I went into 24/7 after listening to Jedi absolutely obliterate an Aussie guy by just summarising what the Coriolis effect is, asking him to define it. It was epic. It was really, really ace. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is ace. The guy, he knows every angle of this argument like the back of his hand, enough to pummel this guy.
Yeah, Jedi,
Jedi
is
is ace.
pretty good. Shout out to Jedi.
We have a absence of ballers in Discord.
Been keeping everyone off mute. I don't think there's anybody I've missed.
I'm just wondering if there's any ballers who have mic issues, or can they come and please take the points we've made and argue them with us in a concise manner. Yeah, I mean, if you're listening to
I'll
the show,
drop if anybody wants to come.
After the show, they'll come on.
no, I know
I'll
what they
drop
do
if they
after the
want it.
show. I'm asking them to do it before, so instead of being chat warriors, be a real warrior. Come on the show.
There were a few people off mute, on mute, sorry, that I've just taken off mute.
All right, so if you're in Discord and you believe the Earth is a sphere, how do you have answers to the last two topics that we discussed? Come and share.
I could try parroting their arguments, but it's too hard to keep from laughing.
Do you stay with them after the show is gone and go one-on-one with them afterwards?
Yeah, I can sum up that. I can sum it up in a few words. I think they believe that the horizon is a function of geometry and atmospheric conditions. What they believe.
Johnny Glow.
Okay, where did they get the geometry?
Well, they don't care about that. They just want, they don't care about proving anything. That's what they keep saying to themselves.
So what they're saying is, we assume Earth is a sphere. That would be their it's a function of geometry statement. But Earth as a sphere has issues. So we apply our begging the question of a sphere with terrestrial refraction bending at the rate of the sphere I told you that we assume with my first statement. In other words, I'm going to beg the question, and then I'm going to beg the question with a refracted value based on my begging the question fallacy of a radius value. But my ultimate question still stands. Where'd you get the geometry in the first place?
Well, at that point, it usually breaks down to ad hominem. It's never pretty. They don't like to talk about that.
Yeah. Well, that was nicer than having a globe head go through that process for about 5 minutes rather than about 30 seconds. Thank you very much. That was quick.
Oh, and Coriolis effect. I've completely lost where they're going with that. It's like they've invented another world where they do have Coriolis effect, but they don't have it here. So I don't know.
It's because they're supposed to have it here, but they don't. So they have to explain to you how we don't have it, even though we're supposed to have it, but we don't.
How many
So that
reference
could be very painful for them, I think. That's probably why they're spiraling the way they are.
Yeah, terrestrial
Chocolate.
Coriolis effect is that you don't have Coriolis effect.
Yeah.
Chocolate, how many reference frames do they have?
It's the assumption that we have Coriolis effect and the assertion of 15 degrees an hour deviation, unless you look at anything that would have it applied to it, like a drone or a helicopter or a hot air balloon, then we don't have it because of reasons. Okay?
Yes.
So we're proving it with 15 degrees an hour deviation. Unless you look at anything that should have deviation, then you shouldn't have deviation. Isn't that obvious?
Yeah, but hold on.
Conservation of
With
momentum.
footballs and with bullets,
summed it up
there is
better.
Coriolis deviation, remember? But with those things, it doesn't
Right,
work.
Neil did
Well,
the
that would
best.
mean there would
Hold
be
on,
two.
everyone,
That
hold
would
on.
mean-
Hold on. Neil, go ahead.
Conservation of momentum.
Perfect. So what you're going to do is you're going to assert that we've got a Coriolis deviation at 15 degrees an hour, and then tell me that we've got conservation of momentum negating a 15 degrees an hour deviation. That's right, isn't it, Neil?
That's
not
correct.
15 degrees an hour deviation proving Earth spins, but conservation of angular or linear momentum not giving you 15 degrees an hour deviation proving Earth spins. Right, Neil?
That's correct.
Well, wouldn't that be a non-Coriolis, non-proof of Earth spinning? That's your rebuttal to tell
That's
me that we
correct.
don't have 15 degrees an hour deviation as Earth spins underneath stuff? Oh, right. What a great rebuttal.
They're screwed both ways.
I remember from the chat, Sean Hawkins saying, quote, Coriolis effect is angular momentum, end quote.
Wow.
Told you. That's what they're going to say.
What?
Angular momentum?
I thought Coriolis effect was an apparent
Got a
deviation.
It is, Arwin,
momentum
yes.
going on in your eyes as you're seeing the Coriolis effect, huh? Because apparently you're seeing the Coriolis effect and suffering from conserving angular momentum at the same time. How the hell are you doing that?
Do they even know what Coriolis is? That's what do they even know? I
It's
don't
probably
think
the
they know.
force. It's because of the Coriolis force, which apparently is a thing, even though it's said it's not
not a
actually a
force.
force, but it's
Hold on.
still called a force.
Neil's on point again. Go ahead, Neil.
It's not a force. It's an apparent deviation.
No, the thing you asked before. Do they know what, sorry?
Yeah, do they even know what it is?
No, they don't.
Coriolis. I don't think they do.
No, and it's not their fault. Because if you wiki search Coriolis effect, you are presented with an abject pile of nonsense that contradicts itself in every second sentence. Now, there is a little GIF that describes non-inertial and inertial reference frames releasing a projectile, it travelling in a straight line, and you observing it from a rotating reference frame seeming to drift. Well, you can see that in the little GIF that I've got on Wiki. But every other reference is talking complete nonsense. They'll identify things like actual spin directions of hurricanes as being Coriolis, and it isn't. Or water going down a drain, which has an actual spin direction, when Coriolis is about not actual deflection because you're spinning underneath something that isn't spinning, not watching something with an actual spin direction. So that's the kind of nonsense that you'll be fed if you actually look into it and do your due diligence. But not many people will find a very simplistic explanation of a roundabout spinning and you observing something not spinning, seeming to look like it's moving when it isn't. That's what Coriolis actually is. But you won't find that in 3 sentences anywhere. It's just mixed up with loads of contradictory statements about water going down drains and hurricanes with their actual spin directions rather than you spinning underneath stuff. So it's very confusing for anybody who actually looks into Coriolis effect to get the simplistic explanation. So no, Neil, they don't know. And neither did I. It had to be pointed out to me. I thought I'd done my due diligence and looked into it, and I still didn't understand it. And that's probably the case for most people who will look at it and do research on it, because it's absolutely littered with confusing, convoluted, contradictory nonsense.
Like
Well, Nathan,
most
Your
of the
own
proofs.
discernment. If you read a citation or a reference about the Coriolis effect, and in the beginning it tells you, it actually describes it as an illusion, and then later on in that same article they tell you how this illusion is apparently causing storms. Well, how the hell is an illusion causing anything?
Precisely. And with that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!